In the 10th year of my sexless marriage, I got pregnant. Eric was forced to marry me 10 years ago, and we were finally divorced 10 years later. But when I was preparing to leave with my children, he knelt down with red eyes and begged me not to leave. 10 miles between the clouds, the most luxurious wealthy area in Jiangcheng. In the 10 years since we were married to Eric, our house has become more and more expensive. I also changed from an ordinary teacher Nicole to the famous Mrs. Ferguson in the circle. There was no light in the entire villa. I sat on the sofa in the living room, waiting for my husband who never came back before 12 o'clock, feeling dead in my heart. Yes, my husband Eric and I separated on our wedding night. We have been married for 10 years. Apart from me getting up before dawn every day to prepare breakfast, and only meeting him once, our interactions are very few. The hands crossed 12 o'clock, and the sound of a key turning came from the door. Eric turned on the light and saw me, with a look of surprise on his face. Perhaps he was surprised that there was no light left for him in the villa for the first time in so many years, or perhaps he was surprised that I was waiting for him. I also waited for him not long after we got married, but he told me coldly that if I kept waiting for him like this, he would never come back. All my efforts to please him only earned me the right to have breakfast with him. Why haven't you slept yet? Didn't you say you don't have to wait for me? Eric's voice was as cold as ever. Let's get a divorce. When he said these words, his body seemed to be empty, as if the stone that had been pressed in his heart for many years was removed. It's a bit empty, but also indescribably relaxing. I don't have time to play games with you. Yes, who would believe that I, who desperately wanted to marry him, really wanted a divorce? No kidding, let's get divorced seriously. Because Ferguson invested in Wendy's new play? Eric frowned. I owe this to Wendy. Before we got married, I said that I would marry you and be faithful to the marriage, but I would make it up to Wendy. Eric sat on the sofa opposite me and looked at me, as if he was looking at an unreasonable child. You owe her, I don't owe her. I think the divorce has nothing to do with others. My face was expressionless and my tone was calm. Eric seemed to realize that I really wanted a divorce and sighed. My parents won't agree. Yes, a large part of the reason why I was able to marry Eric came from my parents-in-law. They like me who they grew up with and looked down on Wendy who is just a beautiful orphan. They would, if they knew we hadn't slept together in 10 years. That's why you. Eric was interrupted by me before he finished speaking. I am pregnant. 2. When I went downstairs the next day, Eric was still sitting on the sofa in the living room without changing his clothes, as if he had been sitting there all night. After 10 years of marriage, this was the first time that I didn't get up early to make breakfast. Eric looked at me with complicated eyes. Whose child is it? Sebastian. Eric looked tired and his voice was hoarse. I smiled mockingly. Sebastian is Wendy's husband. Not everyone likes other people's husbands. Who is that? Eric's tone was filled with embarrassment and forbearance. Have no idea. It's just one night, I don't know who it is. I said casually. You ruin yourself like this? To get back at me? Do you know what you are doing? You. Eric looked at me in disbelief. It was rare that his emotions fluctuated so much. The veins on his forehead were bulging. Eric, I'm just tired. I don't want to take revenge on anyone. The child belongs to me alone and I will give birth to it. Whether you are alone after our divorce or you find Wendy to renew your relationship, it has nothing to do with me. We are divorcing. Whether we reach an agreement or file a lawsuit, I have made up my mind. I don't want the Ferguson family's money. The inheritance my parents gave me is enough for me to spend my whole life. It's been 10 years. This wrong marriage has come to an end. Eric looked at me, rarely seeing me fully in his eyes, not knowing what he was thinking. Have you thought about it? Yes. I didn't hesitate. After a long time, Eric said, Okay, I will arrange a lawyer and give you half of the joint property after marriage. Okay. A single mother who is getting divorced has no reason to refuse a generous fortune. 3. The first person to know that Eric and I were divorcing was my father-in-law. Mother-in-law. In addition to my parents, the best people in this world, they are also the people who watched me grow up. Speaking of which, Eric and I are childhood sweethearts. Our two families were neighbors when we were young. Ferguson's parents didn't have a big business at that time, But they were so busy that Eric was often sent to my house. My parents are both university teachers, and my father is a well-known professor at Zhongqing University. Coming from a scholarly family and having excelled in my studies since childhood, Ferguson's parents were very reassured, and the relationship between the two families was also very good. When I was little, Eric felt like he was raised in my family, and I always liked to follow Eric. At that time, friends of the same age all knew that Eric always had a beautiful little tail behind him. And when I was bullied, Eric was always the first to rush in and protect me. When did it start to change? I looked at Ferguson's parents in front of me. In the past 10 years, they were not unaware of Eric's indifference to me, and they had repeatedly beaten Eric to treat me well. We have not had children for 10 years, and they have never been dissatisfied with me despite not knowing the inside story. If this marriage has given me any warmth, it is that it is comparable to my biological parents-in-law. My dear, I heard from Eric that you two are getting divorced. Did that kid bully you? Tell your parents and they will teach him a lesson. Divorce is not a trivial matter. Our Ferguson family only recognizes you as our daughter-in-law. Is it that bitch Wendy again who caused you to break off the engagement in the first place? Now that you are married, you are still restless. Sebastian's family is also a respectable family. They come out to show off and film every day. My dear, your parents are on your side. Your parents died trying to save Eric's life. Eric dares to divorce you. We would rather not have this son. My eyes grew moist, their words of concern ringing in my ears. Compared to the naughty Eric, Ferguson's parents have been particularly fond of me since childhood. Eric was often jealous and said that he might as well let me be their daughter. The day my parents died trying to save Eric, Ferguson's parents said they would be my parents from now on. Over the years, they have loved me more than Eric. Dad, Mom, it's me who wants the divorce. It has nothing to do with Eric. Eric has been forced to marry me for so many years. He is not happy, and neither am I. I am tired and want to let go. I'm pregnant. The child is not Eric's. He has never touched me in 10 years of marriage. Dad, Mom, I'm sorry. I can no longer be your daughter-in-law. My tears finally fell. I didn't cry when I filed for divorce from Eric. I didn't cry when I was pregnant. And I didn't cry when I learned that Wendy and Eric were disconnected in the past 10 years. And I didn't cry when Eric protected Wendy in the entertainment industry. But now, looking at the two old people who care about me, I finally burst into tears. Ferguson's parents felt like they were struck by lightning and were speechless for a long time. Is this marriage hurting more than just us? 4. The divorce proceedings with Eric went smoothly, and both Ferguson's parents and Eric agreed to share half of my property. Ferguson's parents even said that I would be their daughter from now on. My dear, our Ferguson family is sorry for you. If you don't want a divorce, this child will be the child of the Ferguson family from now on. If you want a divorce, you will be the daughter of our Ferguson family from now on. I vaguely remembered the words of Ferguson's parents. When I was a child, only two parents and Eric would tell me to be good. After my parents passed away, Eric no longer had the same affection for me as before. Only the two elders of the Ferguson family called me that. Their love for me over the years makes me feel that this marriage may not be such a failure. On the day of the divorce, Eric was dressed in black in a white shirt. Eric, who is 35 years old, is still handsome, and he can vaguely see the features that made my heart flutter 10 years ago. Years of ups and downs in the shopping mall have made him even more charming. From now on, Zhongqing has another diamond man. I moved out from Yunjian Shirley today. Sabrina will continue to stay there to serve you. Come to me if you have any problems that cannot be solved in the future. I have to say that Eric is indeed a kind man. He gave me half of the shares in Ferguson's enterprise, which was at its peak, and most of the real estate and other properties. Ruthless and affectionate. If not, I can't endure this cold marriage for 10 years. Good. I wanted to get divorced, and I also made up my mind to stay away from the love-hate entanglement that I had experienced for so many years. But because of Ferguson's parents, I don't want to break up with each other. After all, it was me who wanted to get married back then, and it's me who wants to get divorced now. I didn't feel uncomfortable with my life after the divorce. Eric rarely played a role in my life, except I never will. Because he was afraid that Eric would not eat regularly all year round, he got up early and carefully prepared breakfast. He matched Eric's clothes, shoes, and watches thoughtfully every day. and he gave Eric's stomach medicine to his assistant on time and in the right amount. Eric ignored me for 10 years, so I tried my best to stay in his life for 10 years. My bravery resulted in a bloody head injury. I can't tell at what point my love for Eric slowly dissipated. Once upon a time, I only loved Eric. After my parents died and I lost my family, I desperately held on to Eric. And now I have a child. My children will be the closest family to me for the rest of my life. 5. I didn't feel well physically after having a child. I am 1 year younger than Eric, and now I am also a 34-year-old pregnant woman. The strong morning sickness caused my body to lose weight quickly. When I went for a prenatal checkup, I saw Eric and Wendy beside him for the first time after the divorce. I glanced at the words obstetrics and gynecology above my head, and I laughed in my heart. Why come alone? Where is Sabrina? Eric's cold tone was filled with dissatisfaction. Sister Nicole, are you feeling unwell too? Wendy was wearing a mask, and her beautiful eyebrows were more refined than they were 10 years ago. The orphan who used to only wear shirts and jeans is now dressed in a tailored style, and no longer as cautious as before. She is also the wife of the Sebastian family, who is on par with the Ferguson family, and is a first-line star in the entertainment industry. Sebastian was on a business trip, so I asked brother Eric to accompany me for the prenatal checkup. Sister Nicole, don't get me wrong. He looks so innocent. I said indifferently, don't call me sister. My parents only gave birth to one daughter. Now that Eric and I are divorced, you don't need to be related to me. In the past 10 years, Wendy has appeared as an innocent person many times in my marriage to Eric. My heart ached many times because of Eric's defense of her, but now when I look at them, there is no wave in my heart. It turns out that things will change, and it's not just Eric. Wendy was stunned. She didn't seem to expect that we were actually divorced. Sister Nicole, didn't you want to marry brother Eric the most at the beginning? Why did you want to divorce? Is it because of me? Brother Eric only treats me as his sister now, and I am also married. If Sister Nicole minds. I interrupted impatiently. I wanted to get married before, but now I want to leave. Is there any problem? Eric liked me before, but now he likes you too. As for you, I didn't get married for you, and I didn't get divorced for you. Is it possible that you still have anything to do with Eric after you get married? Although I no longer love Eric, I still hate Wendy. After all, without her, Eric and I might not be where we are today. Wendy looked at Eric with innocent eyes, tears half falling from her eyes. In the past, whenever she looked at Eric like this, Eric's defense would follow. Nicole, Wendy just cares about you. Why do you have to be so aggressive? Nicole, Sebastian's family does not approve of Wendy entering the entertainment industry. As a newcomer, she will inevitably be bullied. I just help her. I was the one who abandoned Wendy in the first place, and Wendy was also very innocent. Nicole, Wendy is timid, don't target her. But today, Eric was unusually silent, and Wendy had embarrassment in her eyes. Eric said, Sabrina can call me if it's inconvenient in the future. It's not safe for pregnant women to be alone. The care that I didn't have before marriage was seen after marriage, but I don't need it anymore. Are you pregnant? How is that possible? Wendy's voice became sharp, as if she couldn't believe it. How is it impossible? You can get pregnant, but others can't. I said calmly, turning to look at Eric. No, I don't have a habit of letting other people's husbands accompany me. Wendy's face instantly turned pale. That's not what I meant. I just felt that it was a bit sudden to not be pregnant for so many years. I looked at Wendy and said calmly, It's okay, the child is not Eric's. Wendy suddenly lost her voice. Eric looked stiff, and I smiled slightly and turned to leave. I laughed in my heart. Did I really think I would love Eric forever? 6. When I got home in the evening, Eric was waiting for me on the sofa with a bruised nose and a swollen face. The last time Eric waited for me seemed to be more than 10 years ago. I asked calmly, What are you doing here? In the past, I would feel distressed for a long time when Eric's hand was broken. But now looking at his badly injured face, I feel nothing at all. It turns out that the person I desperately wanted to marry would one day no longer love me. As for who beat him, no need to guess, it was no one but Sebastian, accompanying someone else's wife for a prenatal checkup. Haha, if I hadn't known who Eric was, I might not have been able to take off this cuckold. Speaking of Sebastian, he also grew up with us. Compared to Eric, who is both good in character and academics, Sebastian is famous for being a free-spirited person. He has done everything from climbing walls, skipping classes and fighting since he was a child. Sebastian's family has a rich background, and the old man even served as a commander. Sebastian was sent to the army by his family after graduating from high school, but he started a business when he came out. Fortunately, the Sebastian family has a strong foundation, and now the Sebastian family is stronger than the Ferguson family. Eric and Sebastian have never dealt with each other since childhood. The funny thing is that he actually fell in love with the same woman, Wendy. Many people in the circle look down on Wendy's background, but she also attracted the hearts of two elites in Jiangcheng, so her background didn't matter anymore. In the end, I married Eric and Sebastian married Wendy, but they still didn't get along. Over the years, Wendy often appeared in front of Eric, and Sebastian was very dissatisfied, saying that I had poor taste in men. The love-hate relationship between the four of us lasted for 10 years in a confused manner. Eric said, "You look very bad today. Is there something wrong with your health? You are not young now, and there are many risks in pregnancy. Ferguson has a cooperative hospital. It's just a normal reaction to morning sickness. There is nothing wrong with my prenatal checkup today. I didn't see you caring about this before the divorce, let alone after the divorce." I drank the warm milk prepared by Sabrina and really didn't want to deal with Eric anymore. Eric was silent for a while and then asked slowly, "In the past 10 years, have you hated me? I'm the one getting married, so I don't have the right to hate her." Eric looked at my emotionless face with struggle, pain, and confusion in his eyes. "Nicole, do you regret it? Maybe I tied you up for 10 years. Today I found out that everyone has been trapped in the strange circle for so long. I don't know whether I should regret it or blame myself. You married me for the sake of saving your life. Then you watched Wendy marry Sebastian, and then you ignored me for 10 years and protected her for 10 years. I feel very tired of this relationship that is constantly being cut off and unclear. Eric, I know I was wrong. If I could go back again, I would even want to go back to the past, the past." My eyes gradually became foggy. "It's good that I have parents. If I have a family, I don't want you anymore. Now I really don't want you anymore. I found that it's not that difficult and it doesn't hurt that much. My 10 years are also your 10 years. Neither of us became winners. It's so ridiculous, haha. Eric, I don't want to see you anymore. I'm willing to admit defeat in the past days, and I will live a good life with my children in the future days. You don't have to worry about me. You know, as long as I am willing, my life will be good." At the end, I saw tears in Eric's eyes. Yes, 10 years later, the rose that proudly and brightly said that only I was worthy of Eric has withered, and the prince who said he wanted to protect the rose is no longer the same. If I could do it over again, I really wouldn't love Eric anymore. Don't let him sit with me in this prison in the name of love. I didn't get my lover, and neither did he. 7. The child's reaction was much more serious than what I said. The placenta was in a low position and turned red within 3 months. The doctor asked me to stay in the hospital to preserve the fetus, otherwise the baby might not be preserved. My child is my only relative now. I took a year off from school and moved in with Sabrina. Hospital and told her not to tell anyone. At least when I want to keep my child, I don't want to get entangled with anyone anymore. The first one to find him was Sebastian, and it was no surprise that there was no one in Jiangcheng whom Sebastian could not find. Sebastian asked in a face-to-face manner, "How did you end up like this? Wasn't Eric the one you wanted to marry in the first place? Now I feel haggard and I have suffered a lot to keep this child." I said calmly, "Are you afraid that Eric will go find Wendy? Does she want to look for him or not? Whose child is this?" Sebastian looked unruly, still as handsome as before. Sebastian looked cynical, but the whole Jiangcheng knew that he was very capable, and he had never lost any business in his hands. "Have no idea. Nicole, do you know what you are doing? You are giving birth to a child. You say you don't know who the child is. If I had known you were fucking yourself like this, I shouldn't have." Sebastian kicked the chair away and scratched his hair irritably. "Why are you so angry when I give birth to a baby? Isn't Wendy pregnant? Are you afraid that the baby won't be yours?" My words made Sebastian blush and he was furious. "I mean, what are you going to do with this child?" I said calmly. After I gave birth, Eric gave me a lot of money, enough to take care of the child for several lifetimes. But the child doesn't have a father. Sebastian finally calmed down. How are you going to explain to him that he doesn't have a father? Some roles cannot be replaced by money. We'll talk about the future later. He may not have a father in the future. I just got divorced, not to keep the peace for Eric. Sebastian smiled. Nicole, I really belong to you. 8. Lying on the hospital bed, I thought about why I had to marry Eric. When I was 5 years old, the Ferguson family moved to the villa next door to my home. Since then, there has been a brother Eric in my world. Every day when we go home from school together, Eric's portion is always included in the lunchbox my mother prepares for me. When I was 10 years old, I read The Little Prince and cried for the rose that was left behind. Eric said that I am the most beautiful rose, and he will be the little prince who will always protect the rose. Starting in junior high school, my drawer had love letters from other boys. Every time, Eric stepped back and beat the person up. Gradually, everyone knew that I was Eric's childhood sweetheart, and no one dared to attack me. In high school, I was partial to math. I studied until late at night and was so stressed that I cried secretly. Eric always found time to help me with my classes, and he was even happier than I was when we were admitted to the same university. We have always been the golden child in everyone's eyes. Our parents also agreed to get engaged and married after graduating from college, and Eric never objected. Eric and I didn't have a grand pursuit or confession, but more than 10 years have made our lives inseparable from each other. My life has always been smooth sailing. Until that year, Wendy's appearance broke our happy bubble. Wendy is an orphan, a beautiful orphan who is unforgettable in the crowd. She is also an orphan that our family has been supporting. The kindness of our family sent her to me, which dealt a fatal blow to my life. Wendy is 3 years younger than me. She just entered Zhongcheng University when I was a senior and came into our family as a sponsor of our family. According to her, this was her first time taking a train in her life. At that time, Wendy was wearing cheap clothes and a washed white school bag. She was poor but beautiful, and timidly called me Sister Nicole. I extended a hand of kindness to her, invited her to live in my house, bought her a beautiful little dress, and introduced her to Eric. At that time, Wendy was like my little tail, calling Sister Nicole all day long. Eric said it was like following him when I was a child. Wendy is smart, beautiful, and has good grades. With my help, she quickly integrated into the life in Zhongcheng. Beautiful girls have no shortage of suitors, but Wendy never accepts anyone. I smiled and told Eric that I didn't know which prince could win her heart. Eric always smiled and said that Wendy was still young. I don't know when it started, Eric said. She has changed from Wendy to Xiaowei and later to Wendy. From the initial politeness to gentleness and politeness to the final pampering. When did I realize something was wrong? It seemed that every time Eric and I went on a date, we had 3 people. Wendy began to call Eric brother tenderly, and the gifts Eric prepared for me always included one more from Wendy. While I was busy taking the postgraduate entrance examination, Wendy was able to meet Eric alone. Wendy also generously told me their whereabouts and the reason for meeting every time. It made me feel a little uncomfortable, but I felt like there was nothing wrong with it. Sebastian also asked me a lot about Wendy at that time and said that Eric and Wendy seemed to have a very good relationship. I always smiled and said that we have a good relationship, and Wendy is the younger sister supported by our family. If he likes Wendy, he will chase her, which will make Sebastian jump in anger every time. And when we were preparing to get engaged, the illusion was finally broken. I bumped into Eric holding Wendy tenderly at my home. Her face was full of tears, and she said pitifully that she didn't want Eric's brother to get engaged, which made her very protective. The result of that day was that I slapped Wendy twice in anger, and Eric angrily said it was not her fault, and then took Wendy away. This was the first Waterloo in my life. 9. Not long after Sebastian left, Ferguson's parents also found me here. Although Sabrina was with me, they often visited me and brought me rice and soup. Eric has never been here, and I don't want to see him. Later, Wendy also came to find me, and I smiled from the bottom of my heart. It seemed that as long as I was in Zhongcheng, I was destined to have no peaceful life. Now, Wendy is exquisite in every aspect. She has beauty, skills, and capital to protect her. She is very comfortable in the entertainment industry. When I first met her, her outfit cost less than $100,000. Now at any time her outfit costs hundreds of thousands. I have to say that she has indeed succeeded in counterattacking. She touched her belly, which was not yet pregnant, and smiled sweetly. Sister Nicole, I heard that you are here alone to protect your pregnancy. I told Brother Eric to come and see you, but he refused to agree. Wendy, aren't you tired of pretending for so many years? In other words, we are divorced, do you still need to pretend? This time I was really confused. Wendy's expression changed and she smiled again. Sister Nicole, I really care about you. After I became pregnant, Sebastian's family stopped letting me film. They valued my belly more than anything else, and even let several people show up when I went out. Stay with me, Sister Nicole is alone. I interrupted coldly. Wendy, Eric gave me half of the family property, and Father Song and Mother Song often visit me. You don't have to worry, my child will be born safely. She seemed to be very dissatisfied with my plainness. Sister Nicole, do you really not like Brother Eric? You used to love him so much that you did not hesitate to use the death of your uncle and aunt to force him to marry you. Have you really given up? As expected, the more familiar you are with a person, the more you know where the knife will hurt the most. I no longer love Eric, but my parents who gave birth to me, raised me, and doted on me for so many years can never be found again. They died on that rainy day for Eric. Eric and I had a falling out that year, and our engagement was about to break up. I was haunted every day, as if I had lost my most beloved treasure. For the first time, I complained about the cruel Wendy, and I even complained about my parents who supported this white-eyed wolf. My parents found Eric for me. No one knows what they said that night, but on the way back, they took Eric's car. The brakes failed, and my father pushed Eric out of the driver's seat and ran towards his death. Both Mother and Eric jumped out of the car, but in the end only Eric survived. From that day on, it seemed like I had become an orphan. Sue was very satisfied with the pain on my face, and Wendy smiled even more. Sister Nicole, this is an opportunity that you finally got. If you don't cherish it like this, my uncle and aunt will blame you. I couldn't hide my disgust towards her. Why don't you go down and ask for me? Perhaps what they regret more is that they shouldn't have funded you, a wolf-hearted person like you. Now that I don't want Eric anymore, why are you still looking for me? Is that so? Maybe you don't actually like Eric, you just want something from me? Wendy blushed for a moment, but quickly regained her composure. She continued to smile and said, Sister Nicole was born with everything, so how could she understand the pain and struggle of people like us? If I didn't know how to strategize and plan, how could I be where I am today? But Sister Nicole was born with everything, and now she has nothing except the money from the divorce, right? I used to be an orphan, but Sister Nicole is also an orphan now. Brother Eric stayed with me during those days when he wasn't home. Nicole, no matter how high you are now being stepped on by me, aren't you? There was a trace of distortion on her delicate face, and I didn't know where her hatred came from. Before Wendy could finish her words, she was slapped by Eric's mother, who rushed in the door. You bitch, you are an uneducated thing. Nicole is our daughter. It's your turn to make irresponsible remarks. You deserve to be disliked by Sebastian's family. Don't think that I don't know what you are worried about. If Eric dares to associate with you, we will treat him as if he has no son. The Ferguson family does not belong to Eric alone. You are a rotten-hearted person who is worse than a pig or a dog. Even if you raise a dog, you can repay others better than you. The Lin family's support for you is really bad luck for 8 lifetimes. You have a child in your belly and you come to harm others. Be careful of retribution. If anything happens to Nicole, I can't spare you. Eric's mother was very aggressive in business in her early years. Wendy retreated steadily amidst Eric's mother's scoldings, and Eric at the door looked even more ugly. Wendy's face turned pale and she cried, Brother Eric, I didn't mean it. I just cared about Sister Nicole, but Sister Nicole didn't appreciate it. I was so angry that I said something unscrupulous. Sebastian arrived shortly after and slapped Wendy involuntarily, with a sullen look on his face. I told you not to cause trouble for Nicole. If you don't understand, don't go out. This time neither of her 2 flower protectors were on her side. Sebastian took Wendy away and said he would never let her come to me again. 10. Eric and I were the only ones left in the cold ward. He put the thermos bucket on the table, sat beside my hospital bed and started peeling the apple, then cut it into small pieces and put it on a plate and handed it to me. He had done this scene countless times as a child. I didn't answer and smiled sarcastically. Eric, after getting divorced, I seem to see you more often. Also, I don't like apples anymore. Ever since he started peeling apples for Wendy, he didn't want to eat them. Nicole, I'm sorry. I've been sorry for all these years. Eric's tone was weak. I looked at Eric and said calmly, Eric, it's time for you to be relieved, and so am I. It was my father who wanted to save you, so you don't have to live your life carrying someone else's life. Eric responded stubbornly. When I got married, I said I would take care of you for the rest of my life. I will take care of you no matter whether we are divorced or not. This person who didn't delay his divorce seemed to be obsessed with taking care of me. I spoke slowly. Eric, what did my parents say to you that night? This problem has been hidden for many years under the avoidance that he and I shared. Let me guess. Seeing how sad I was those days, they must want you to leave Wendy. Our family kicked Wendy out and you picked her up. They want Wendy to leave Jiangcheng, right? When you fell in love with her, you definitely didn't agree, so you two had a big fight. Do you want to break off the engagement with me? Eric's eyes were red and his voice was choked. Good boy. Without waiting for Eric to answer, I continued to ask. They must be very angry because they pamper me so much. My father has a heart disease. Is he so angry that he gets sick? Are his medicines around? Eric, is it really because of Wendy that you have ignored me for so many years? Or do you simply dare not face me? Eric, was my father's death really an accident? Eric retreated under my gaze. His face was gray and his body was bent as if he had been crushed. In the end, Eric left in embarrassment and never came back. 11. After Wendy came and caused a scene last time, I began to plan to leave Jiangcheng. Here, I am not sure that the child will be born smoothly. Already, if you want to leave these love-hate entanglements, simply make a clean break. This city has carried all the joys, sorrows, and joys of the first half of my life. Saying goodbye to the past and leaving may be the simplest and most brutal way. I sorted out the assets in my hands, and stock dividends were paid to my card regularly every year. I began to entrust people to sell many real estate properties under my name. As for some large funds, I found a financial manager to help manage them. When doing estate planning, I saw the person from that night again. In other words, the father of my child. The child's genes seemed to be pretty good, and the man in front of him had good appearance and was a well-known investor. When he saw my 5-month-old belly that day, I was not surprised that he found me again. He carefully chose his words. Ms. Nicole, I am Julian from Dingfeng Investments. I would like to ask this child. I said bluntly. It has nothing to do with you. He continued. It was your first time that day. The timing of the child was just right. I said calmly. Mr. Julian, regardless of whether you are the biological father of the child belongs to me alone. That day was just a consensual relationship between adults. I don't think Mr. Julian is a troublemaker. This child will not have anything to do with you in the future. I vaguely remembered that night. There was another problem with Wendy and Eric ran over to solve it. Wendy was very considerate and sent me a photo to express her gratitude. Over the years, because of Wendy, their interactions have never been live broadcasted to me. So that night happened. I got drunk silently in the lavish bar and did not refuse Julian's hand reaching out to my waist and his words in my ear. Can you? Then let's destroy it together. When I woke up, I didn't look at the man next to me and left quietly. The child was unexpected, but it is my only hope now. Life has to go on and there must be something to look forward to. Julian was not deterred by my coldness. Miss Nicole, I understand your situation. I don't know what's wrong with your marriage to Mr. Song, but since the child is mine, I am willing to be responsible for you. I am 36 years old, unmarried, and a senior partner of Dingfeng Investment. I know that Ms. Nicole has inherited a lot of property, which can be notarized before marriage, and my assets and income can be shared as postmarital property. I am from Jiangcheng, and my parents both work in Jiangcheng Hospital. I hope to date Miss Nicole on the condition of marriage. Please believe that I am sincere. I frowned slightly. Mr. Julian, as far as I know, this is the first time we have met. If it is just for the sake of the child, it is not necessary. Julian continued. Miss Nicole, since we are both single and have children together, and your conditions meet my expectations for a partner, why not give it a try? I didn't refuse anymore. In fact, Julian said there was nothing wrong with it. Compared to others, at least he is the father of the child. After that, Julian kept asking me out one after another. Not too enthusiastic and not distant, just the right amount. As expected of a senior investor, he is very easy to interact with people. My assets have been well managed, and some properties have been sold one after another, in which Julian has contributed a lot. When I expressed the idea of leaving Jiangcheng, Julian did not stop me and stayed with me for several prenatal checkups after that. In fact, if you live your life, there is nothing wrong with such a person. But I want to stay away from the past and live peacefully. But there are always people who don't want me to. 12. The headline #Ferguson's CEO's wife cheated on her during marriage and was kicked out of the house because she was pregnant with the adulterer's child #, which broke the peaceful life of the past month. My baby is 6 months old now. On the headlines were pictures of Julian and I having dinner together and going for a prenatal checkup. Our behavior was never intimate, but the angle was right. The date of my divorce and the date of my child's birth were revealed. The internet was flooded with news that I cuckolded Eric and shamelessly took away half of his assets. In my school, the phone is being doxed and the phone is ringing with all kinds of insults. Stop. This woman looks very innocent, but she is so promiscuous. You are still a university teacher. Don't let your children apply to that school in the future. Such people are not worthy of being teachers. I heard that her parents are still professors, so they taught this shameless person. They are probably just mad at her. All kinds of vicious abuse was thrown at me. There is no one else who could make news related to the Ferguson family spread so quickly except Wendy, who bears the name of Mrs Sebastian, has a lot of resources in the entertainment industry, and has malicious intentions towards me. Many times I wonder if we had a bad fate in the previous life. Even though I married Eric, she became Mrs Sebastian these years, and Eric took great care of her. Why did she hate me so deeply? But this time I won't sit back and wait. When Eric came to find me, I was sorting out Wendy's information. It includes how she accepted funding from my parents, how she stole my fiancé, and various records of her interactions with Eric that she sent to me while being Mrs Sebastian over the years. Even Eric doesn't know that in the past 10 years, the whereabouts of him and Wendy have been delivered to me without fail. Carefully selected pictures and videos make their obsession even more compelling. Since Wendy wants to use public opinion to attack me, she should be prepared for the backlash. Over the years, I didn't care about her. I just didn't want to break the superficial piece of this marriage. But when Eric is nothing, who is Wendy? In the villa, Eric looked at my face cautiously and I found it funny. After these 10 years of suffering, there is nothing I can't bear anymore. He said tentatively. Gossips on the internet. Don't worry, I will handle it. I smiled mockingly. How are you going to deal with it? Don't tell me you don't know who did it. Eric did not dare to look directly at me and lowered his head. I will admit that this child is mine, and we will dissolve our marriage peacefully. I looked at Eric and said, I admit it's not your child. You really love to take advantage of me as always. He ignored my taunt and continued, if you are willing, this child will be mine and the only heir to the Ferguson family. I don't doubt his words. Over the years, Eric has never treated me badly when it comes to money. No, Eric, the child is just mine and has nothing to do with you. I won't just let this matter go. It's up to you whether you want to help her or not. I exhaled and suddenly felt a little weak. Why, even if I let go, I still can't do without your entanglement. Eric, what did I do wrong? Eric looked at me looking lonely. Guilt and intolerance flashed in his eyes. He struggled to speak. It's my fault for so many years. Before leaving, he left a message. I will give you an explanation. But he doesn't understand that I no longer need his explanation. Teen. After the evidence of Wendy and Eric's entanglement was put online, the response was even more enthusiastic than I expected. Wendy is an A-list actress. She has always been an innocent and beautiful girl and has many fans. But the various chat records, high-definition pictures and videos I released were all the worst among stone hammers and did not allow her to break free or defend herself. Suddenly, Wendy's scolding spread all over the internet and became more and more popular, far overshadowing my scandal. Some people even sympathized with me for enduring the humiliation for so many years and being stepped on by my mistress. After Eric came forward and admitted that the child was his, everyone even thought that my divorce was forced by Wendy. Wendy's various advertising endorsements were terminated, and the production team was also suspended. Sebastian will pay the liquidated damages, but her reputation is in ruins. Watching her being hunted down like a street rat made me quite satisfied. Even Sebastian's family has been impacted by public opinion, and there are even rumors that Sebastian's president is a successor. I was browsing online posts when Sebastian's call came. I don't know if Eric took action, but the news about me on the internet has almost been downplayed, and there hasn't been much splash. Sebastian didn't question me, he just asked, "Nicole, have you calmed down?" I laughed out loud at him. My wife abused me online, but he asked me if I had calmed down. "Sebastian, don't you know who caused this mess? Or don't you know that I took action against Wendy?" The person on the other end of the phone chuckled and said nonchalantly, "She brought it upon herself, don't blame me. You said you wouldn't let her bother me again." It seems that Master Lou can't control his wife. Sebastian smiled relaxedly. "Soon she won't be my wife. Eric is divorced. Do you really think she will always hang on to me?" Sebastian insisted on marrying Wendy despite the opposition of Sebastian's family back then, but now he can't tell that he still has much love for her. Can time really change everyone beyond recognition? After hanging up the phone, I didn't take Sebastian's words to heart. Whoever Wendy ends up with in the future has nothing to do with me. 14. In order to raise my baby, I have been staying at home with peace of mind. Except for necessary prenatal checkups, I rarely go out. When Wendy asked me to meet, I flatly refused. But she gave me a reason I couldn't refuse. "Nicole, don't you want to know the truth about your parents' death?" Haha, it seems that I am the only one who is kept in the dark about the truth. To meet Wendy, I carefully chose a cafe in the downtown area. Seeing her again, she was still beautiful, but even the heavy makeup couldn't cover up her haggardness. Also a flat belly. If the child was still alive, even if he was younger than me, he would have shown his pregnancy long ago. Following my gaze, she laughed at herself. "Yes, the child is gone. Do you know why?" I remained silent. "What does this have to do with me?" When I didn't say anything, she continued, "It was his biological father who killed him." I frowned. No matter how indulgent Sebastian was, he would never touch a woman, let alone his own child. Seeing the disbelief on my face, Wendy laughed out loud. "You don't believe it, do you? Huh? Who can believe that the proud young Master Sebastian would commit domestic violence? For so many years, every time I caused trouble for you, Sebastian would attack me. Do you feel that you are the only one who has been tortured in the past 10 years? Every time you suffer will be added to my body, never falling. Even the child in my belly went to the hospital to see you that day, but he accidentally pushed me away when I came back. Although I don't understand why Sebastian is like this, I am the most speechless about Wendy. That being the case, why does she have to come to trouble me?" As if she had read through my thoughts, Wendy's expression turned ferocious. "I just don't want you to have an easy time. Why, I was the one who wanted to marry Eric back then, but he chose to marry you just because of your dead parents. Do you know how your parents died? Sebastian tampered with Eric's car. He wanted Eric to die, but your parents ended up being scapegoats. You don't know, right? Sebastian has already had his eye on you. He thought he would have a chance if Eric died, but he didn't expect that only Eric would survive in the end. What's more, he didn't expect that Eric would be tied to you because of the grace of saving his life." Wendy's smile was filled with pleasure. "Noble Miss Nicole, so what if all men like you? They killed your parents together. Nicole, do you think you are more pitiful, or am I more pitiful? Ha ha ha." Wendy's words set off a storm in my heart, and the sudden truth caught me off guard. Although I had doubts about the death of my parents, I didn't expect the truth to be 100 times crueler than I imagined. So it should have been Eric who died that day. My parents went to Eric for me and became his scapegoat. The murderer is Sebastian, who grew up with us. Sebastian's motive for killing was me. In the death of my parents, none of me, Sebastian, Eric, and Wendy were innocent. My breathing became rapid, my hands clenched into fists, and my nails were cut off in my palms. This belated truth stabbed me like a sharp sword and made me suffocate. There was pain in my lower abdomen and I woke up. I bit the tip of my tongue and tried my best to calm myself down. I still have child. Wendy looked at my gradually calmer expression with great disdain. As expected of Sister Nicole, she is still so calm after knowing the truth. It seems that your parents' death was in vain. I stared at Wendy closely. Why didn't you tell me about this at first, and why are you telling me now? Wendy's expression became ferocious. You think I want to watch you marry Eric? Your parents died, and Eric said it was all his responsibility, and he must marry you. And Sebastian knew that I overheard him asking someone to do something that day. He asked me to choose whether to marry him or die. I have to live, right? Being Mrs. Lou sounds good too. I thought Sebastian liked me, but every time he calls me by your name in bed. Nicole, shouldn't I hate you? You stole Eric's person, and you still have Sebastian's heart. My life has been ruined by you. Speaking of this, Wendy's tears fell down, and there was no image at all. I spoke slowly. Wendy, without you, Eric and I would have gotten married. Wendy had tears on her face and looked at me with hatred in her eyes. Today, I finally understand why she hated me for so many years. She laughed wildly. Nicole, do you really think that without me, you and Eric would fall in love with each other? Without me, I would be someone else. If a man has second thoughts, he has nothing to do with anyone. I looked at her calmly. So these years, you and Eric have been entangled, and you have to let me know every time. Wendy was hysterical. Yeah, why am I the only one who feels this pain? The person I like married you, but the person I married only loves you. And you, knowing nothing, continue to be your eldest lady and Mrs. Song. I went through all the trouble to conceive this child, and yet it was lost. You deserve to die, you all deserve to die. Watching her descend into madness made me increasingly uneasy. I wanted to give up, so I stood up and prepared to leave. I know everything you have to say, it's time for me to leave. After standing up, my whole body went limp and I collapsed onto the chair again. Wendy looked at me provocatively. Haha, Sister Nicole is so naive. Do you really think I'm here to catch up with you? Before I lost consciousness, I thought I underestimated Wendy. Even though I didn't drink the coffee in front of me, I still fell into the trap. 15. I've been kidnapped. After waking up, I was tied to a chair in a dark room. Why did Wendy kidnap me? Before coming, I kept an eye out and told Sabrina my whereabouts, thinking that Sabrina should have contacted Eric by now. When the dazzling lights came on, I couldn't open my eyes for a while. Then, what came into view was an empty factory building and a proud-looking Wendy. I heard my own voice say, "What's in it for you?" What I responded to was Wendy's merciless slap and condescending sarcasm. Nicole, if you fall into my hands, you'd better behave, and I can keep you alive longer. There was blood from the corner of my mouth and I said coldly, "If you wanted to kill me, you wouldn't have waited until now." Wendy didn't take it seriously. Sister Nicole is so smart, why don't you guess, who is Eric or Sebastian? I asked. Eric has taken good care of you over the years. What else do you feel dissatisfied with? Wendy looked at me with a trace of pity in her eyes. Huh, if he loves me, why is he still unwilling to marry me even though he's divorced? For so many years he has responded to my requests. But do you know who he is looking at through me? So what if I'm not feeling well? You don't understand anything and you don't get anything, right? How could I not understand? Eric's feelings for me have long been engraved in my bones. Even if there is temporary empathy, you will eventually succumb to your heart and choose your lover. But he has long since dared not love me, cannot love me, and does not deserve to love me anymore. In the past 10 years, he has kept the secret in his heart, and I have pretended not to know anything, just consuming our love. Let's wait together for the day when we will be exposed to the truth. I don't want Eric anymore, and Eric won't be Wendy's. Who is more pitiful between me and Wendy? I can't figure it out either. But I know that in the confusion, the four of us, no one wins. I know Eric found my shadow in Wendy, but as proud as I am, I refuse to forgive Eric for even a moment of betrayal. After my parents died, I took the initiative to marry Eric. I knew from the beginning that I was guilty. I took the initiative to enter the prison of this marriage, and I also sentenced Eric to it. I knew Eric couldn't face me, and I knew Eric's secret intention of protecting Wendy. How can I not know whether the fruit I planted is bitter or not? If it weren't for this child, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to let myself go and reconcile with the past. I closed my eyes to conserve my energy, waiting for the final judgment to come. 16. It was someone I found. It was Eric. Eric's expression changed drastically when he saw me being tied up. Just as he was about to step forward, he was frightened away by the dagger stuck to my face. Eric's voice was trembling. He looked at Wendy and said, "Let Nicole go. I will agree to whatever conditions you have." Wendy's face turned pale and she giggled like a female ghost. "Brother Eric, can you marry me? If it weren't for Nicole, you should have married me 10 years ago, right? If I kill her, no one will stop us." Eric agreed. "Okay, I'll marry you. If you let her go, we'll get married right away." Wendy's hand shook, and a trace of blood oozed from my face. At this time, she was like a madman screaming, "Liar, you are lying to me. You just want to save Nicole. You have never loved me. You refused to marry me back then, and you never touched me for so many years. You didn't even want me after we got divorced. I am just a shadow used to replace Nicole's shadow. You favor me openly, but you love her cautiously. You want to see that she cares about you and is jealous of you. You have acquiesced to my actions for so many years, but she never responded. Ha 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 ha. She doesn't love you. She stopped loving you a long time ago." Wendy's words caused Eric's stiff face to break. Eric's face was dejected and he said in a low voice, "I'm sorry for her. Just let her go and just pretend that what happened today never happened. You can still be your Mrs. Lou." These 3 words, Mrs. Lou, seemed to turn on a switch, making Wendy even more crazy. She put the dagger close to my neck, which soon began to bleed. Mrs. Lou, who knows how the glorious Mrs. Lou lives? No love, no dignity, no name, even my only child is gone. I hate you because you made me fall in love with you, but you don't want me. I hate Sebastian because he married me but trampled me under his feet. I hate you all deserve to die. The pain in my neck made me afraid to move. No one dares to mess with a madman. If you hate me, kill me. I did it to you. If you want revenge, come at me." Sebastian's cold voice followed. His handsome face was bloodshot and his eyes were black, and he came in a state of embarrassment. "Exchange me for Nicole. I have abused you for so many years." Wendy smiled miserably. "Haha. Yes, you are the culprit. But it seems that Nicole's death makes you even more heartbroken." Sebastian said solemnly, "If Nicole dies, you won't survive." Wendy smiled with tears in her eyes. "Really? But I don't want to live a long time ago. Before I die, it's not a bad thing to support your beloved woman," Eric said calmly. "Wendy, there is nothing wrong with Nicole. If you want revenge, no one should go to her." Wendy's eyes were fierce, and the dagger came closer. "Nicole is innocent, but what about me? It was Nicole who introduced me to you. It was you who didn't reject me, and it was Sebastian who wanted to marry me. Why am I the only one who is unlucky?" I said calmly. "Wendy, you feel pain, but I haven't gained anything. Now I choose to let go, and you can too," Wendy sneered. "It's too late. Do you think I can still be alive after today?" At this time, Sebastian punched Eric in the face and cursed, "It's just the debt you have *king caused. Without you, where would you have done so much? If I had known, I should have let Nicole marry me." When Eric heard this, he also violently counterattacked, "You do. Nicole will only be my wife. Don't think I don't know that you have coveted Nicole since you were a child. That's better than you, a scumbag, who has been grinding against Nicole for so many years. Wendy is not the one you want to marry. Her ambition is not nurtured by you. I married her to make Nicole feel at ease, but you ended up being unfaithful even after you got married." The 2 of them were going back and forth, punching each other to the point of death. Seeing both of them beating each other to death, Wendy put down the dagger and yelled, "Stop!" At this moment, a bullet shot into Wendy's chest, and blood spilled all over my face. Before I passed out, I seemed to see Eric and Sebastian running towards me. Finished. 17. When I woke up again, I was in the hospital ward. The air was filled with the smell of disinfectant, and Eric stayed by my bedside. When he saw me waking up, Eric hurriedly called the doctor to check me. After confirming that I was okay, I breathed a sigh of relief. I slowly touched my abdomen with my hand, and Eric immediately said, The baby is fine, but you had fetal gas before and you need to be hospitalized for observation for a while. The child is now less than 7 months old, and I am indeed a little worried. I took a sip of the water Eric handed me and felt that my throat felt much better. Where's Wendy? Eric was silent for a moment and then said, She is dead. Sebastian called the police before he came, and the sniper fired and died on the spot. I closed my eyes and felt a chill run through my body. Wendy's death was probably not only because of kidnapping me, but also because of the truth she knew. My voice was hoarse. Wendy told me that day that Sebastian had tampered with your car, so the brakes failed. Wendy heard it, that's why Sebastian married her. Eric's face changed suddenly, and he was in disbelief. Yes, although they don't deal with each other, they are still brothers who grew up together. Unexpectedly, Sebastian actually wanted his life. Why did my parents take your car that night? Eric recalled with pain on his face. After a long time, he said, That day my uncle and aunt came to me and asked me to send Wendy away. At that time I was young and energetic, so I rejected them all and even said, I wanted to break off the engagement with you. My uncle was so angry that he became ill and took medicine. When he came back, I was worried and insisted on taking them in my car. It's all because of me. Originally, they didn't have to die. It was me who deserved to die, it was me. Eric burst into tears. He had been suppressed by guilt and self-blame for 10 years. Once he let it out, his tears flowed freely. I looked directly at Eric. Eric, there will be no traces of tampering with your car. Unless the evidence has been covered up early on, the people who can do it must be the people closest to you. Eric seemed to realize something and became speechless. The answer is obvious. It's Ferguson's parents. It turns out that the love they have shown me over the years is not only their love since childhood. There is also deep self-blame. Therefore, the Ferguson family's current status is inseparable from Eric's proper management and the compensation from Sebastian's family. Haha, this world is really worse than I imagined. I looked at Eric and said seriously, Eric, the murderer shouldn't be able to go unpunished. My parents' death can't just be forgotten. There was guilt and remorse in Eric's eyes, as well as pain and embarrassment. He nodded, looked at me and said, I understand, don't worry. Then he fled from here with staggering steps. 18. After Eric left that day, he didn't come for a long time. In the ward, I received the news that Ferguson's company had sniped at Sebastian's company. The Sebastian family has a strong foundation, and the Ferguson family cannot be underestimated. When the two major companies compete, Jiangqing's economy is in turmoil. When Ferguson's parents came to visit me, I changed my names. Uncle, Auntie. Just a word of address made the two old men blush. Eric's mother cried and said to me, My dear, the Ferguson family is sorry for you. The old man found us back then and forced us to cover up this matter. We are just a small business, so. Looking at Eric's mother, who was crying uncontrollably, my heart felt like it was entangled with iron wire, tight and painful. I spoke slowly. Auntie, if it was Er who had the accident that year, I see, will you do the same? The two old men were silent. How can that be possible? If it was their only son who died, they would still want justice, even if everything was broken. Uncle and Aunt, if you are trying to persuade me to let go, there is no need to say anything more. Maybe you had your difficulties back then, but I will pursue my parents' death to the end, no matter what the cost. Seeing the determination in my eyes, Ferguson's parents' expressions changed several times, but they finally said nothing. Before they left, they only said, My dear, we have lived to this age and have nothing to fear. It's just that we are worried about your safety when facing Sebastian's family. But what am I afraid of? When Sebastian made an appointment, he didn't refuse. When he came to the ward, he still looked cynical and didn't mention Eric's recent actions at all. I pressed the recorder under the quilt and asked, Did you let someone tamper with Eric's car, which caused the death of my parents? Yes. Sebastian answered without any hesitation. Why? Sebastian looked serious, looked at me and said, I want Eric to die. Since he makes you sad, why should he live? How did you do that? I gave the Ferguson family's driver a sum of money and then sent him overseas. Where is the driver now? Sebastian was silent for a moment, looked straight at me and then chuckled. He returned home yesterday. My breathing became ragged, and Sebastian's eyes were naked and hot, as if he could see right through me. He admitted simply, as if he had anticipated what I would ask. Sebastian sighed. Nicole, Eric is not the only one who has watched you grow up over the years. Who is he? He dares to treat you half-heartedly. For so many years, I have tortured Wendy just to vent your anger. I wanted Eric to die, but I didn't expect that it would be your parents who died. I'm sorry. I wanted to protect you, but I didn't expect that it would be me who would cause you pain. Nicole, I'm sorry, I'm nothing either. I know what you want, and I will make it happen. After Sebastian left, his words still echoed in my ears. Today, he has taken off his previous disguise and allowed me to see another side that I have never seen before. Before leaving, he smiled relievedly at me, as if he had finally been relieved. 19. Soon I understood what he meant. When I handed the recorder to Eric, he said that the driver had surrendered. When the police arrested Sebastian, he did not resist and confessed to his crime. This voice recorder was given to me as auxiliary evidence by Sebastian, but I know that if he doesn't want to, no one can touch him. I will not forgive him on behalf of my parents. Let the law judge him. Now Wendy is dead, Sebastian is in jail, and Eric and I are divorced. Our story has finally come to an end. In the last 3 months, I was preparing to stay in the hospital to give birth. In the past few months, Eric has been coming here every day after work, as if he wants to make up for the lack of companionship before. Regardless of my complaints or cold looks, he accepted them all. During this period, Julian visited me several times, and Eric almost got into a fight with him. After the scandal, Julian's career was also affected, so I deliberately avoided meeting him. Now that the incident has subsided, he has resumed our relationship on the grounds of taking care of my assets. He is the father of the child, and I did not refuse his visit. But he still slowly collected the assets in his hands and set up a trust for his unborn child. I still have to leave this place. On the day of delivery, Eric and Ferguson's parents, as well as Julian, stayed outside the ward. My delivery was not smooth. It was not until the next night that my daughter was born safely. Looking at the wrinkled baby, I felt very satisfied. It's great, I have a family again. I named my child Lynn Anan. As long as she is safe in this life, it is enough. The day after the baby was born, Julian proposed to me. I didn't agree. I know very well how much I love my children, but I also know very well that I don't. Julian. I once struggled for 10 years to get a marriage. Now, I no longer want to besiege the city for any reason other than love. This will only bring more misfortune. I love children, but I have to take responsibility for myself first. When he rejected the proposal, the smile on Julian's face dimmed a lot. He said that he was my senior at Zhang University. During the years when I chased Eric, he was still a red rose in the hearts of many boys in Zhang University. Julian, who has always been very at ease, was rarely shy when he revealed his feelings. Nicole, I was so happy that night. I finally picked the red rose in my heart. It's a pity that this rose still doesn't belong to me. Nicole, I hope you are happy. Child, I will always be responsible. My luck doesn't seem that bad. At least Julian is indeed a nice man. 20. On the day we left Jiangcheng, the weather was very good and cloudless. My mood was also indescribably relaxed. Sabrina has no children, but she has taken care of me for so many years. When I left, she took the initiative to come with me. At the airport, when I was about to go through the security check, I saw Eric rushing there. He spoke eagerly. Nicole, stay here and we will raise the child together. I will treat her as my own. I must be a good husband and a good father. We have missed so many years, let me make it up to you, okay? Looking at this man who has occupied my life for nearly 30 years, I was in a trance. The love, hate, anger and infatuation of the past are only the indifference of today. Turns out that this is letting go. I said calmly, Eric, I have let go of the past. You can take care of yourself in the future. Eric's eyes were red and he knelt down and begged me. Good boy, look at me again. I tried my best to give him a warm smile and turned to leave. When I felt the weightlessness of the plane taking off, I thought of Eric's last question to me. Will you come back? Maybe. Maybe come back soon. Maybe never come back.